That was Roddy Piper by the B Plus Players on their debut album, Gorilla Position. We are the B Plus Players. My name is Joel.
My name's Adrian.
My name is Mike.
We got a rowdy crew tonight.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because we just watched a movie with Roddy Piper. On our panel, we've got Jenn, we've got Marc, we've got Ryan. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey. Yeah.
Woo!
All right. And this is B Plus on B Movies, where we review movies about wrestling, featuring wrestlers, anything that has to do with wrestling. We're going to watch the movie about it and talk and review about how wrestling and these movies intersect together. Tonight, we chose Roddy Piper's second most famous film, Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah!
Whew.
Adrian, this was your third time seeing this.
That's true. My second time was very hungover after a New Year's Day is when I watched it. My first time I rented it from the library.
This is an educational film.
Yes, very much so. Just to find out what happens when hell, in fact, does come to Frogtown.
Because this could be our future, really.
It's very true. It's all about... Well, what's it about, Joel?
Oh my god. Hell Comes to Frogtown is about... Jesus Christ, I'm going to throw this to Micheal. That's my gimmick. You just stole my gimmick.
It's a feminist
My
film,
gimmick
really.
is throwing that to somebody else. Jenn, what is Hell Comes to Frogtown about?
Well, it's about sustaining humanity in the face of a post-apocalyptic future, which is in jeopardy through these biological nuclear creations that are the frogs. And they're...
Frog people.
Frog people.
Frog
Frog.
people.
Because they seem...
Frogs is their word.
Don't call them toads.
Don't call them toads.
No. But I noticed, like, from the waist down, though, they had very human features. From the
Yeah.
Pretty entirely human features.
I think
Yeah.
that was, like, budgetary restrictions. There's a lot of
Like, they
frogs
put-
in helmets.
And wearing boots. Like perfectly nice
yeah.
leather boots.
Yeah, I was a little jealous. I was like, those motorcycle boots are nice.
This mutation was only from the waist above, apparently.
Really the neck above plus hands.
Yeah.
And I felt like the first vibe of Frogtown seemed kind of okay. They were in the bar, they were having a good time. It did start to take a turn when they started to talk about kidnapping and tentacle penises and you know.
But that's much later.
There's a lot to dissect in this movie.
But what was happening, Joel? What was happening with Roddy Piper when this film was going on?
So Roddy Piper was probably at about the peak of his career, if not like maybe a
This
year or
is
so
before
late.
they lived, though.
This was before They Live.
But as a wrestler.
he
Yeah.
filmed this and They Live right around the same time. This was sort of like a double whammy. These were two of the three first movies that he ever made. As far-
1987? 1988.
yeah, 88. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 88.
And yeah, Roddy Piper was in a very unique position, I think, at this point in wrestling, where this was right after WrestleMania 3, so as far as the most famous wrestlers in the world, I mean, Roddy Piper would have been up there. He was part of the main event of the first WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan, Paul Orndorff, and Mr. T. On the second WrestleMania, he had a boxing match with Mr. T. Who,
One of the main events of one of those three events.
Yeah, one of the main events. Mr. T, who was a huge star at this point, and who was the guy who really put over WrestleMania. WrestleMania was an experiment. The first WrestleMania, they did not know if it was, it was make or break in a lot of ways, and they didn't know how it was going to go. Mr. T really was the guy who
set the standard for celebrity involvement in wrestling.
Oh,
They have
absolutely,
a-
yeah.
It was
the only other guy is Tyson. Really, the only other guy who brought people in was Tyson, and
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. He had some of the biggest buy rates, but as far as really bringing people in, the only guys who ever really did it were Mr. T and Mike Tyson.
and The Rock.
Well, and The Rock, but
No Liberace.
Well,
yeah, well,
Liberace's good.
but yeah, it's interesting because most of this feud was just sort of hyped up by Roddy Piper and Mr. T and all the other characters. And, Hulk Hogan was obviously a celebrity, but his celebrity very much came from Mr. T and from everything around that. So when you're looking at the landscape of wrestling in the mid to late 80s, you're looking at Hulk Hogan, you're looking at Andre the Giant, but you're also looking at Roddy Piper, who probably has the most famous rivalry with Hulk Hogan of all time, really. He was... I think he's one of the only guys who was never pinned by Hogan until about 20 years later on WCW.
Yep.
It's also like it shows the landscape of like how in the 80s it was just like one champion for a very long time. Like Roddy Piper was never champion,
Never got the big belt.
As legendary as he is, and now in modernity, everyone has their chance to be the champion.
Even
but
Jinder Mahal.
Oh boy.
Not Roddy Piper, but Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
That's right.
Welcome to the Gendercast.
Yeah. Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon never won the world championship, but Jinder Mahal has.
yeah.
Sit on that for a second.
Hell Comes to Frogtown, featuring Roddy Piper.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, like truthfully, like Roddy Piper was a huge star in wrestling at a time when wrestling was pretty big.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely. Golden age.
Yeah, and he took a break from wrestling for about a year or so, and decided to start making some movies.
He's a good-looking guy. Why not?
Very good looking man. Rest in peace, Roddy Piper.
Incredible.
Yeah, basically, like, Roddy Piper's known for two movies. One of them is the cult classic They Live, and the other one is the extremely cult classic Hell Comes to Frogtown, which is what we just watched tonight.
When you say extremely, does that mean less people have watched?
It means less people have watched.
Significant.
Like, I mean, there's a difference between like a cult movie and just like there's like cult and like culter. Yeah, it just like keeps going.
That's an album.
This
by
one's a
some
hard
band.
sell, but it pulls you in with all of the women, illustrious women.
Yeah,
In the first 25 minutes, I forgot there were frogs. I'll be honest.
I had no idea what the hell I was getting into. One of the things, doing this podcast that I'm really looking forward to is the fact that, like, going on Roddy Piper's filmography, there's a lot of stuff to look forward to here. There's movies such as Immortal Kombat. We've got Tough and Deadly. We've got Jungle Ground, Terminal Rush, Fighters,
Legless Larry and the Lipstick Lady.
Legless Larry and the Lipstick Lady.
As the titular character, Legless Larry.
He plays Legless Larry. He plays the Jack. He's in Jack of Hearts, Three
He's a
Wise
waste.
Guys. I mean, it's just like this could easily just be a Roddy Piper podcast if we wanted to. We
Let's
could just
do it.
have a podcast
From now on.
just about Roddy Piper movies.
Don't forget the Maniac.
Oh, Maniac, yeah. We've got Alien Opponent. We've got Pizza Man. We've got Fancy Pants. We've got
Those pants, they're fancy.
Black Dynamite Teaches the Hard Way.
Oh.
The hard way.
Oh, A Hard Way. Sorry.
Oh.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry. Oh my God.
We don't want to go.
Um,
we don't want to be saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's we don't
Look it up.
we don't want to insult the cinematic classic Black Dynamite Teaches a Hard Way. But yeah, so this is sort of as far as like wrestlers getting into movies, into titular roles, and trying to expand their career in this sort of way. I guess Roddy Piper was one of the first guys, like him and Hogan, pretty much. Outside of that, you
And the
didn't really
difference
get a lot
between
of
him
that.
and Hogan is his film career is looked upon fondly.
Yeah.
Well, like, Hogan had a huge role in a huge movie.
Yes.
Like, Rocky 3 was huge.
Oh, I was
yeah.
thinking Three Ninjas High Noon and Mega
shut
Man.
That was later.
Huge.
That was much later. Yeah.
Like, the Hogan's role in Rocky 3 was perfect. He was the wrestler in the wrestling role in a very good film.
He was also Dave Dragon in Three Ninjas High Noon and Mega Man. It was like the Power Rangers.
Coming
with
soon.
Hulk Hogan. So would you want to cancel that show? They put it on the show at Mega Mountain to save the show. Hulk Hogan as Dave Dragon.
Hey, come on! Spoiler alerts here.
God
We haven't
damn!
seen it
I
yet.
was gonna.
I I'm sorry, Jim Varney shoots him with a tranquilizer dart. There,
No,
that's the
no,
spoiler.
no.
That's the spoiler.
Here
I
at
don't
B
wanna
Plus on
know.
B Films, we've only talked about 2 movies so
That's
far.
getting edited out. That's getting
Yeah.
CM punked.
That's the spoiler.
But yeah, I guess like it is pretty significant for the fact, especially like I mean, as far as wrestlers who have made movies.
Wait, wouldn't Andre be in that though? Because Andre was in a couple of
Is
them.
the Princess Bride?
is the main role, but that's a
Yeah.
little bit later.
It was a little bit later, yeah. But as
Another
far,
beloved role, though.
Yeah.
but I mean,
The
Roddy
Peanuts.
and They Live was a big deal, and it was considered a good-ish movie. So like he was
John
trying.
Carpenter was a respectable
Yeah.
director.
And it-
Absolutely.
I would argue it was probably the best lead role character up until a certain point. Up until you get into your rock territory.
For a wrestler, yeah,
like
definitely.
a real
For a
actor.
wrestler.
But like we got No Holds Barred, where Hogan's
Oh, that's-
the lead role,
The treasure
and
of the
Piper.
film.
We're gonna talk
feels
about
that.
No Holds Barred in every podcast. Aren't we?
Anyway,
Yeah,
It's just
that's one
gonna.
mention.
Right now, we're just hyping up They Live, so we should probably stop that.
Yeah.
We're like, this is the movie people expected you to watch.
Yeah.
We watched the other one.
So yeah, this was as somebody who's really into B movies and bad movies and horror movies and sci-fi movies. This was one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Like this, I did not expect for how fucking weird this movie was going to be. Mike, what was Hell Comes to Frogtown about?
There's no real easy get answer to that one.
There's a great easy answer.
Well, it's about a dude who has to repopulate the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My description of it is Roddy Piper is the last fertile man left on Earth, which is incorrect.
He's a Casanova. He's left a trail of pregnant women
Yeah.
up to this point. He's at the beginning. He's been arrested for
Potentially.
consensual.
Yeah, one of the big problems about this movie is
I know.
at the very start of the movie, we're faced with the dilemma of is our protagonist a rapist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that never really gets resolved. We never
But it's from
know.
the perspective of the sheriff, who's the daughter of the person he had just been caught with.
And who
The
might come back
father.
later in the film.
Yeah.
Might.
But
I don't know.
It turns out
I haven't seen the
he's
film. Let's
fertile,
watch it.
and that's very rare. That's like
Yes.
it's the what would you say? It was like reverse children
It
of
is the
men.
reverse Children of Men. Yeah, it
Yeah.
has like weird, like almost premonitions of like Children of Men, though the book was probably written at that point, and like Mad Max Fury Road. Because
Yeah.
there's like
Whoa,
there's
yeah,
The whole
weird
rescuing
It takes
of like the
a
incubator.
harem. There's literally
yeah.
a harem.
And
True.
then
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
the lizard or no frogs.
Frog
Pardon me.
people.
How
They're called frogs.
insensitive of me. They in pursuit of their harem of women. It was very Mad Max Fury Road esque before its
Literally,
time.
there was like also just a bunch of rocks, and it was just going through the
Yeah.
path.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
absolutely.
Even visually, yeah.
Well, it's funny because it's like so obviously influenced by the original Mad Max, and then so strangely influences Mad Max Fury Road. Like it's almost like a lost Mad Max movie in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Although there is 3 sequels to this film.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
whether
There's
these
one
sequels
legitimate
called
sequel.
Oh
Wait,
my
what?
god!
And there's a third, like,
So it's
pretends...
Toad Warriors.
Toad
Toad
Warriors
Frogtown
third...
2.
I think there was a
Warriors.
return to Frogtown.
Okay, so we've got the the first sequel is called Return to Frogtown. None of the original cast returned,
Oh.
and
Surprise.
Damn it!
the next sequel was called Toad Warrior and was later re-released as Max Hell Frog Warrior in 2002.
It is using an
The character-
improvisational technique known as Zen filmmaking.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
Zen
No
filming.
scripts.
That sounds...
It's like best in
Oh,
show,
yeah.
but not good whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then Battletoads.
He's
Yeah.
getting a bunch
Yeah.
of really bad actors together improvising about how it's the end of the world and there's frog people.
Frog people.
Like, how do they like put themselves in that world?
So basically, we're introduced to Roddy Piper, this character whose name is Sam Hell. Thus, the title "Hell Comes to Frogtown." right off the bat, we're not sure if he's a rapist or not. He's probably not a rapist. He's,
Yes.
We'd like to think that they wouldn't like set us up that way. That
I
we
would-
just hate our protagonist.
I mean, it was the 80s, so it's hard to say. But yeah, so basically,
like nurses or like the government. Yeah.
we get introduced to a society in which, I guess the start of the movie is people saying that there's like this voiceover from this very innocent kind of girl saying that like, these two separate parties tried to make peace. Kaboom! There's like a giant explosion, and then we just see nuclear explosions
we're
for a
told
couple
there's
minutes.
war, and Roddy Piper's character fought in this. Sam Hell fought in this
Yes.
war.
It was kind of like the first scene of the 1998 Godzilla. Trust me.
Oh,
But there's a really hilarious
Yeah.
moment in that too, where it's just like everything got messed up, and then 10 years later, it all happened again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't learn our lesson.
Like we're gonna tell
Things
you
are
these
terrible.
two different things.
And then they got more terrible. Forget about the first terribleness. But then it's like people who are in the medical field are revered, as well as women, because their ability to repopulate the earth. So,
Yeah, there's a hint at like a matriarchal society.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
68% of men have been eliminated in this world.
But honestly, just a hint. That's about it.
Yeah, you would never know it by any of the characters or how they act.
Yeah, outside of the expositional, like,
never know
hey,
they were
women are in
actually in
charge,
charge.
like, nothing else is ever presented of the fact that, like, this is
No
not super
condoms.
fucking...
Condoms are discouraged.
Yeah, like
Oh my god, the no condoms poster was
that
one of the best things
that was
I've ever
crazy.
seen in my
That's like
life.
at the height of like the AIDS epidemic. Like
It's
that's
true.
really messed up. Like, that's
That's very-
it's almost like on the level of dangerous.
Yeah.
But it was very much like, because women in society can control their own reproduction, then they should be in charge of this society. And there are men that exist, but very few fertile men that exist. And Roddy
Yes.
Piper is this.
Oh, he's the most fertile of them all.
He is off the charts
He is,
fertile.
yeah.
He's overflowing.
Yeah, if he was a Scientologist, his thetans would just be through the roof, you know?
Pheromones.
This is also a
for
character
days.
who begins the movie within like as just some mysterious guy, and then literally there's a frog person who goes, "We've heard legends about you."
Legends.
Yeah.
Like, when did that flip happen?
How can
where
you be bashful?
Everyone knows who he is.
Yeah. But you left that
He impregnated
trail
a lot of
of
people.
pregnant women. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then
yeah.
he just so he was
Don't
brought
think about
to a medical facility, but also a government facility where he had to sign a contract, and he was had a electronic like chastity belt
Yes.
attached to him.
I guess the other thing that it's like part Mad Max, also part Handmaid's Tale in a really fucked up way.
Yeah.
Like just the opposite of what Margaret Atwood ever would have wanted the Handmaid's Tale to be.
Yeah.
We should be careful with that
really
comparison, but a little bit, yeah.
Just like in like the worst way possible.
Yes, good disclaimer there, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, this movie, they're sent on a mission that doesn't make a lot of sense because
It makes perfect sense.
Well, okay, how is it? Okay, no. I disagree. Because, so basically, they need to go rescue fertile women
Correct.
Like-
from Frogtown.
Yes.
For some reason, they take, so they take...
Spangle, was that her name?
Sam
they,
Howell.
they take Sam Hell, they take Spangle, and they take Mila Djokovic from the
Cinderella.
yes, yeah,
Cinderella?
from the Resident Evil movies. Yes, thank you.
She was a good looking woman for that movie. She was a good get.
And how?
I love it.
But like, okay, but it's the sort of thing where it's like, if you have like one fertile dude, are you really gonna send him on this like really important like deadly mission? Are you gonna
Protect him.
risk this
Why
one
does he have to be
guy?
your soldier?
Yeah. Why not?
and
Yeah.
Why not get the
Okay.
women and then bring them
Yeah.
back?
You are absolutely correct,
All
Joel.
these
what I'm
infertile.
saying.
You solved the problem that
Risking the
eliminates
product.
this movie entirely.
But he
Yeah.
also has war experience.
Get some other
He's a
dude
veteran.
who has war experience.
Yeah.
My entire time watching this movie was Roddy Piper should be in a box somewhere,
Yeah.
which I'm not
he
happy
buried
about.
in the
And why do they
Arms.
keep on shocking his genitals and threatening to blow them up?
Yeah.
When you know they're bluffing, they would never blow up his.
Except for that time, that's
This movie is about Roddy Piper's genitals
Yeah.
being the most important
The
thing
crown
in
jewel.
this
Yeah.
world.
If a movie you want to see a movie where Roddy Piper is getting off, this is the movie for you. That's
That his
I'm
his
not quite sure how big that audience.
dick,
And you
heavy
know,
dick
he
worship.
passed away 2 years ago, so we know this demographic does exist. So
Go on.
The disclaimers I would give for this movie are first off, take a drink anytime Roddy Piper's crotch is mentioned.
Or shown.
Because-
Mentioned or shown.
Mentioned or shown,
And the word fertile is used.
and the word fertile is used. Yeah, those are the two main things. Oh, and also, this was a movie that was produced by a production company founded by Roger Corman. So take that as you will.
who's Roger Corman?
Roger Corman, let me tell you about Roger Corman.
Did he fight you in
Film
the chamber?
history moment.
yeah,
B plus PSA.
Yeah, this is our Canadian heritage moment right here.
Let's go.
What an American filmmaker.
Yeah, Roger Corman was probably the most famous B movie maker of all time, pretty much.
Ed Wood? No. What?
Okay, as far as quantity over
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
quantity over bad quality.
Ed Wood's famous because a
It's
movie was
infamous.
made about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of Roger Corman more than Ed Wood when I think of B movies.
There's Roger Corman. There's
Some sidebars.
what's his name? There's Roger Corman
Was it
and
Russ
there's
Meyer?
oh yeah okay yeah. There's Roger Corman. There's
John
Russ
Waters?
Myers. There's
John Waters is something else.
there's Trauma.
Trauma, yeah.
Yeah,
like Lloyd
Tho-
Kaufman.
Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman. Yeah. And those are the main guys for the most part.
Yeah.
This was a Roger Corman movie. I guess the only Roger
That
Corman
makes
movies.
so much more sense now.
Hey! Glad I asked.
Goofy, man.
Most of our audience, probably the only Roger Corman movie you've ever seen is the 1994 Fantastic Four movie,
Oh!
Um,
I want, yes.
which
No,
you
actually,
know,
it's probably like Little House of Barbershop of Horrors.
was Barbershop of Horrors Roger
With
Corman?
Rick
Yeah.
Moranis?
Oh, cool.
No, not the Rick Moranis.
Oh.
The original.
The
one.
original.
There's
Okay,
one.
which I
Oh,
haven't
okay.
seen.
So, the production company that also made this made several films, including Guns of El Chupacabra and Baby Ghost.
Baby Ghost.
Yeah.
I'm all for Baby Ghost.
Also called Casper.
Jesus.
Hey.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not true at all.
Baby Ghost.
And
Fantastic
Pocket
film.
Ninjas.
Never seen it. Pocket Ninjas, man.
Rolligator.
Imagine having ninjas in your
Rolligator
pocket.
is a beautiful name. for a
Lingerie
movie.
It is.
Kickboxer.
Yeah, man. All these are fantastic names.
Which
Blade
definitely makes a
Sisters.
lot of sense for this movie.
Yeah, the lingerie in
Um,
this movie was
Top notch.
It
Yeah.
was
unique.
bottom notch.
Unique.
vintage 1988.
It,
I honestly
camo
watch.
and lace together.
Yeah, I honestly the first half hour of this movie. I was like, this was supposed to be a porno, right? Like the first half hour of this
There's definitely
movie
softcore elements. to
feels
this.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it feels like somebody wrote a porno
Yeah.
and
It's an
then they had
exploitation
like a
film.
really amazing
Absolutely.
location where we're like, oh,
With
let's
sex
not
in it.
make
Their
porno.
mission was to go to Frogtown and save this harem of fertile women so that he could impregnate them. He wrote a contract that he had to impregnate them, and they put
Yeah.
this chastity belt on him, and on this journey, which seemed I thought they had a lot of overnight stops on this journey. I'm like, Frogtown's
quite a few,
really
yeah.
far away, and each night they had to sort of stimulate him, or rather, they were trained in the arts of seduction.
Every night he needed to get a boner.
Yeah, he needed to ensure that he would remain fertile, because I think that's scientific.
Well, it kind of
right?
felt like a.
Well, they are scientists. So.
Yes,
It
they,
kind of-
they were.
It kind of felt like a porn movie with a really bashful director. Like he wanted to get all the scenes up to the actual dirty deed, as it were, but he just couldn't get around to it. So he was routinely replacing his budget toward, oh, let's put a tank in the desert. Oh, well let's put this money towards lizard people. Frog people.
The frog people.
Frog
look great.
people.
They look great. But,
Yeah, can we actually discuss that? I thought the special effects were going to be
Yeah,
garbage.
they're actually good. The animatronics
yeah.
are good. The costuming was great.
Once we
to-
get
to-
once we get to frog,
The
was good.
porn
Just-
budget went towards frog.
Are we at
people.
Frogtown yet or not?
Just to wrap up, the first half hour of this movie was some of the most awkward. The
When
first The first half hour of this movie was some of the most awkward softcore 80s like
When they rescued
porn
the
that you've ever
runaway?
seen. Like
Yeah.
it is such a strange movie for the first half hour.
Joel!
And then we get to Frogtown.
Imagine that you are stationed somewhere with a mission of seducing someone.
And all of a sudden, one of the women takes off all of her clothes
No,
and
I'm
has
saying- no,
the
I'm
most
saying-
special doily underwear you've
Roddy
ever seen in your
Piper-
I'm
entire
saying
life.
you're that
Irresistible
person.
in this
You're the
movie.
seductress.
I'm saying that.
Oh, I'm the
imagine
seductress?
you were stationed and
Imagine
your sole purpose
doilies
was
all over your
to
body.
put some doilies on and seduce Roddy Piper.
Well, clearly doilies is what I go for.
One thing
Obviously.
Because
One thing I didn't understand was how it was a post-apocalyptic world, resources seemed scarce, but then she had these synergy
Yes.
earrings that
Right,
would just control
earrings.
his crotch.
Yeah. They had that technology, but they couldn't just extract his like semen and just like keep it in like a freezer.
Yeah. Like why?
They could have
What
put
did
it
they
in
even
the
need
earring.
him?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Like this isn't a scientific thing. Roddy Piper has to actually have sex with every single woman.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's
Like,
not.
physically have sex with them.
Yeah.
Well, he's a legend,
yeah,
obviously.
he's a legend.
They had not
They all
invented
want
turkey
it,
basters yet.
obviously.
The earrings are such a like '80s TV show sort of trope. It's like very
Yeah.
much like a
It
$6
was like
million
Gem
man
and the
type of thing.
Hologram.
Yeah, absolutely.
Showtime, Roddy Piper's crotch.
Post-apocalyptic when only earrings exist.
Oh yeah, and then there's the whole scene where like they there's like a random woman that's like running through the
Yes.
desert.
So they're
and
chasing
They're
her
like
left,
And it seems
left,
like they were
right,
gonna-
Hard left.
Yeah.
hard left her.
And you
Go
think
right
they
there.
would give her more confidence that they were saving her, but instead they like drugged her and tied her up and
Yes.
like time to
No,
impregnate.
no, they tied her
Really
up.
didn't
then
feel like they were
Yeah.
saving her.
She didn't feel like she didn't look right.
But we were supposed to believe that they were on a noble mission to save these women, but you tied her up and drugged her and then had Roddy Piper
and not even
have sex with her.
tried to. Well, the sex was consensual.
We found that out the next day.
Eventually, it was consensual, but like the nurses did not give a shit whether or not it was consensual.
They
were
tied
just
her
like-
up,
They did
drugged her
It
without even
was
speaking to her.
fortunate. It was consensual.
Yeah, it was a real luck of the draw that it ended up being consensual, but Spangles did not give a shit whether or not it was
Spangles
consensual.
was a hard-ass
that's for sure.
woman. She
She was
was-
just like,
Go
okay,
to
have
no
sex
man.
with this
She was a
woman.
dutiful woman. She was.
She was very dutiful. That
She was
is
full
true.
of duty.
Yeah. She.
Boo. Back to the problematic
So
movie.
then they had to address Spangle, the scientist woman, up as like a bondage like
A Bond girl.
Well-
a woman who is his property and bring to Frogtown to show
Oh, yeah.
off his
So,
wares.
just to be clear off the bat, Roddy Piper had really nice consensual sex with this random terrified woman.
Young lady.
They sort of like they had like a really nice falling in love kind of moment, and Blondie McSpangles was like feeling really messed up about it. And then
Jealous.
they decided, yeah, she was jealous, even though her only character trait is just being
It took
awful.
them like 3 minutes
Good at her job.
to like go
Dutiful.
from having like a fearful, hatred, controlling relationship to having a flirtatious relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also the great scene because basically, if her earrings make it so that his crotch will blow up if she decides that he's too far, and then he's being a dick, so they just like throw him out of the car. And he's like, I don't care. And then as the car keeps going, he starts hearing the beep about that his crotch is going to blow up, and he has to run after the car, and that was a really hilarious.
He
scene.
should-
That was actually
Psychology-wise,
fun.
wrestling
Tethered to
psychology.
someone.
Yeah, it's tethered. Absolutely, it's fantastic. Imagine just being stuck in the desert and your crotch is beeping, and you just have to run, and you cannot stop running, or else your crotch will blow up.
It's like Speed, but for
It's exactly
It
like
is like
Speed.
it's like Speed for your
There
crotch.
is speed in that.
Both sexes
You're right.
are oppressed in this movie. That's what
Having
makes
fun.
it. That's what makes it
Absolutely,
equal.
yeah. So we get to Frogtown. What
Yes,
happens
okay.
in Frogtown?
So we got
Oh.
Roddy Piper and we got
Frogtown opens
Blondie.
with like a frog stripper woman who is
Yes.
like, for by all accounts, the hottest frog woman you'd ever see.
Oh my God! Right?
Yeah, the legs
You know what I mean?
of a human woman.
But honestly, she had the
Breath.
eyes of a human woman, which isn't the case for most other frogs.
Yeah, she's the only one.
She looked like less frogly than the others.
Yeah.
She had the best
That's why
makeup
she
job.
was the most
Yeah.
attractive.
She looked like the girl gremlin from Gremlins 2.
Oh, yeah?
The new batch.
The new
It
batch.
kind,
yeah.
it would kind of make
Which
you
we
question.
will watch eventually because Hulk Hogan's in it.
I feel like I brought that up at some point.
if,
It's not important now.
No, it's not.
but really, she was in on it. We will learn that later. But
That's the whole thing.
I love you.
She's
First
part of it. Judith Light /
Spangle.
Spangle / Angela from Who's the Boss is never naked in this movie, but is also always kind of naked in this movie. She's Roddy Piper. She has to play as Roddy Piper's sex slave to do a trade in the Lizard Star Wars bar.
But,
It was a Star Wars bar with
Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt.
It
Yeah.
was like the
Yeah.
but this
cantina
scene was actually kind of impressive. Like
It was the cantina
The
bar.
prosthetics
Yeah.
for the frogs actually were impressive. Like you thought that they would have lower budget film, but no, they look like they actually took care. Like the way that the frogs' eyes closed were
Yeah.
similar to
Oh, yeah.
the actual way a frog.
That's where the budget went.
Yeah.
Was towards
But
the
you know what?
frog
I
people.
appreciate that. I guess they figured that the lingerie and sex scenes were probably cheap. They could sprinkle a little bit more on the frog element.
Well, they didn't pay a lot for the actual acting of the actresses.
Except for Roddy Piper.
There's no doubt this was a low budget film, but they made the best of it in a lot of ways. I mean, the special effects were actually pretty cool. The location of Frogtown is fucking awesome. Like
Very
it's
nice.
Oh,
really,
excellent. Yeah.
really
Cool.
excellent.
We all noted that there was a very limited amount of frog masks.
Yeah.
Helmets.
Yes,
Yeah.
helmets,
And, the
Daft Punk was in this movie.
mosquito nets,
Mosquito nets with
mosquito net type
goggles
things.
on.
Just like frogs who you couldn't tell had frog masks
that's
on because
Creative use of their budget.
exactly
That and the other thing was the covering of the eyes, so
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, so you didn't have to have the actual eyes.
The one that wore a fez for some reason also had glasses on.
Yeah.
One of them had a
Like-
paper eye patch.
Oh yeah.
which was
Just like
shot
the
predominantly.
cheapiest-
I thought he was the
cheapest
cheapest
part of the movie.
looking one. I thought that was
Yeah.
the worst costume. It looked really rubbery at times.
Yeah,
when
He was
walked
also
around.
the hard
Yeah.
villain of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This was great.
Well, he
But-
sort of was, but he was really dopey.
Yeah.
Like at this point in the movie, like it's like we established this idea of like,
Well, he was the Jaws though. He was the main
He was the
henchman.
henchman,
He-
True.
He was the
I
Jabba
was
the
like,
Hutt.
he's not a shark.
But at this
He's
point in
the
the movie, we're
Jaws,
first
the
introduced
Oddjob,
to Rory Calhoun.
the knick-knack.
Rory Calhoun from Simpsons fame. If you've ever
Yeah.
seen the episode 201 Greyhounds,
Jeez, that's a deep cut.
that one little baby greyhound that stands up looks just like that famous actor. What was his name? Smithers, the one who stood up.
Rory Calhoun.
Rory Calhoun. We were finally introduced to Rory Calhoun, probably for the first time in any
The actor.
of our lives. Yeah, the actor
Playing Looney Tunes.
playing a Looney Tune.
And
Crazy.
and
He's
he
crazy.
was an old
No trademark
war
infringement.
buddy of Roddy Piper. They knew each other, and they're friends. They're buddies.
Oh my god, it's Looney Tunes.
They met at the bar. They were excited to see each other.
Yeah, it's sort of like that cliche scene in a lot of action movies that is always really welcome.
Yeah,
Like, so
you
like
think
in
he's in
Demolition
trouble,
Man,
but
yeah.
really he couldn't be in a better position. He's got
Yeah, yeah.
Those 2 minutes really solidified their relationship.
You're ready to
It was
discuss
believable.
Demolition Man.
Oh no! Well, it's the same. It's the same scene from Demolition Man,
Wait,
which
what?
was many years later, where when Sylvester Stallone gets unfrozen, he bumps into one of the guys who was a cop when he was younger, and he's like, "Ah, you old dog, how you doing?" And they kind of have that sort of like
Better
war
looking.
story sort of thing, and
Yeah,
it's like really
you,
nice.
You let me
You
get
never
frozen, you son of a bitch.
Oh, there's nothing you could do about it, man. That was the government at the time. Listen, let's not get into Demolition Man, 'cause that's a
Which
whole
is
different
an excellent
conversation.
movie.
That's
I
an
like
excellent
bite my tongue.
movie.
I love that movie. It's
I
so
highly
good.
recommend
TV
Demolition
shows.
Man. Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's slightly, slightly better movie than this. But this was still a pretty.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll
So-
get into that later.
Roddy Piper becomes exposed because they have this plan to infiltrate Frog Town to save these women, and they bring in the scientist woman. She's now dressed in bondage. They're going to pretend to sell her into this harem as well. So they end up being accosted because they try to do a private trade, which is illegal in Frogtown.
Yeah, you can't do
That's
that.
true.
No.
So message is communism is bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So they opened up the floor.
It's free market
Yeah.
Frogtown.
And she was expensive. She was like
Free.
She was
free-
five
five lily pad, five
Oh,
lilies. No one.
5 lilies.
Rooms.
Anybody else here want? Anybody else here want her
That's
for 5 lilies?
extortion.
Anybody else?
Extortionate.
Anybody else? No, because you're all poor.
Yes.
So,
So
I'm gonna
then
take
they
her
bring
for 5
him
lilies.
to. Do we actually know the Frog King's name?
I don't know.
The guy with the 3 dicks.
Oh,
Toady.
What?
Or wait,
Oh,
was
spoiler
that
alert.
Toady or was the other?
That was like General Toady or
Yeah, it was
something.
Toady. It was Toady.
Okay.
Yeah.
General Toadie's chicken.
Easy.
Boo.
Is that ironic that he's named Toady?
A little bit.
That's more of a coincidence.
So then we get a bunch of we go
Until
back
I get
like
brought up.
Roddy gets put into sort of like a torture type situation, and Spangles gets put into like a weird like hypnosis
Like-
slash
Like
sort of-
lubrication.
yeah, yeah.
A sexy situation.
Like
you, you can say it, Joel.
a preparation.
well, it's like
was quite
it's this sort of
sexy.
thing where it's just like she's laying on a bed, and the harem of fertile women are just like doing this like weird dance around her.
Yeah.
Not even dancing.
And
They're
for a
literally
moment-
just a little blanket.
Yeah.
And they're just
and it
bringing
is
it up
kind of
and-
hot. Like,
They were
I mean,
playing
really.
parachute. They were playing some parachute with some scarves. That's what they were
Yeah.
doing.
I
Nice.
thought
Who are
that
the
they
cats?
were all the harem ladies were gonna have like Stockholm syndrome and they wouldn't want to leave the frog guy, but they were. She started giving
They're-
them code words and they were down to leave. But they were gonna do this for a while, and she looked like she was enjoying it for. I don't.
She was getting sort of like
Yeah.
hypnotized
Yeah.
into what
Seemed
was
alright. I would
happening.
pay someone to do that to me.
Yeah.
And
And then
then,
you remember afterwards you have to go do the serpent dance for the Frog King.
yeah.
No, it was and she doesn't know what it is whatsoever. It's the dance of the 3 snakes.
The dance of the three.
Dance of the 3 snakes. Okay, it's just like you're relaxing. She's sweating a whole bunch, and she's getting these whatever's material flapped over her.
And
And she's enjoying it, and she's all the while she's being told she has to do the dance of the 3 snakes.
It's like she like lets go of all her inhibition. She's like, you know what? If I'm going to go to the dance of the 3 snakes, I might as well enjoy myself now.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
but like all the while, like we're being told that she's gonna be subjected to the dance of the 3 snakes.
And
In my opinion,
and that
It's
can
like-
be good.
It's just like, what is this? But when she actually finally gets there, she has to perform the dance of the 3 snakes.
But she's been trained in the art of seduction.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's another thing from the start of the movie is that she's very
That
clear with Roddy
wonderful-
Piper about the fact that she's trained in the dance of seduction,
Art.
the
Art.
art of seduction. Yeah.
Important point in the first act.
So
There's
she
Yeah.
painting,
Yeah.
there's drawing,
We learned about
and
her
there's
skills.
seduction.
She's got a
Yeah.
lot of skills. She's
This movie
important.
has more callbacks than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it really connects together well, like plot wise.
There's some
Like
continuity,
it
yeah.
actually makes sense continuity wise. This
it-
isn't just a bunch of stuff
It's
happening.
well-directed.
Like,
So,
not choppy.
My favorite thing is that there's points during the plan that they're like, oh, we're messing the plan up. But at no point does the plan not work out perfectly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no
That's very
actual
fortunate for
derailment.
No, she actually has to do the dance of the 3 snakes and stuff like that.
But-
That maybe not was supposed to happen.
She was
She's got a woman on the inside.
She wasn't
the stripper
anticipating
frog
three
woman
steps.
from the beginning has like a secret code to say "I love you."
But her entire purpose was to fall down twice.
I know she did fall out of Paris,
okay,
some
so
stairs, and fell into some wires, and that was a real hard time for her.
I guess another thing about this movie is that there are several scenes where our protagonists or people, our protagonists and people who are supposed to be, these like sort of triumphant or menacing people, just end up being like just really fucking clumsy. They just like fall off of things or fall Lizard Girl. She's gonna
Frog
help.
Girl.
She fell down the
Sorry,
stairs.
Frog Girl. Frog Girl is gonna help Roddy Piper, and she falls down the stairs into wires, and then she's,
And
like,
she's like,
"Oh
"Go
no,
on with that."
I'm
can't
make it
go
out.
on.
I'm screwed. I'm sorry, I can't help you." And that's the thing that keeps kind of happening through the
Yeah.
movie is that just like our lead characters are about to do something really cool, and then they're just like, yeah, like with the main frog bad guy. he's got the chainsaw and he goes to chainsaw Roddy Piper,
They did-
and then it just like stops and he's like,
He also said-
think
okay,
they
sorry,
had
no,
better
I can't.
security,
All right, like,
He also says "dude" in that scene.
Dude.
really, okay.
I can't remember the
didn't notice
line
that.
now, but he said "dude."
He like as far as like
Cultural significance.
as far as like as non-threatening as these frog people are, it's like you get to this point where he goes from being non-threatening to just being way less threatening than that, where it's just like, oh, okay, he's a frog guy and that's kind of scary, but then it's like, oh, my chainsaw doesn't work, hang on, just wait here a second,
Better
I'm
put
just
some
gonna
more gas
refill
in
it.
this chainsaw. And actually, Roddy Piper ends up, being in sort of like a torture situation, but he ends up just convincing his captor to just take off his chastity belt from him.
He was going to anyway. He wanted to find out the technology.
Well,
He wanted to
he
see
didn't
his
want
dick.
him. Yeah, well, he sort of
Just
didn't want
imagine
him
when you
to.
take a chainsaw
I've
and
heard
you
of
rip
the
off this
legend
technology,
of this
and
dick.
it's just a Roddy Piper's penis right
You
there.
know what? If I was Roddy Piper as a person, I would probably feel really good about making this movie. This whole movie is about how great your dick is.
Yes,
I was
absolutely.
thinking about
This movie is
being
all about
pitched
Roddy
to him.
Piper's dick.
Well, how would you like to make this movie where you're the only man who can impregnate the world?
It's like
And
an
all
old-
these hot women are gonna be
It was like two
crawling
hot
all
women,
over you.
and then
It's like an old
five
like
more.
pulp or like heavy metal like
Oh, it's
short
totally
story
is,
where
right.
it's like
Yeah.
totally prepubescent.
Yeah.
Like, fantasy
Oh yeah, it's like
about,
it's like a 12-year-old boy's like fantasy.
Yeah,
It's
you're
what he
the
wants.
last sex man on Earth.
Oh yeah,
And you have to fight frog
that's
people.
right.
Sex
Yeah.
Man in Lizard Town.
Yeah, why would we call it that?
That's it.
We might as
Lizards
well
are
make it.
intimidating. Frogs? Who's afraid of frogs? Like there's a list of like animals that
It had to be
people are afraid of.
believable. There had to be the ounce of believability that Roddy Piper would go over on these frogs.
Because yeah, they're not like
They had to be vulnerable.
snakes or like
Yeah,
weird,
imagine a
like,
snake town. Like,
dragon.
no, I don't want to go to Snake Town.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Jake the Snake Town. That'd be the worst. Frog Town? That's all right.
Yeah.
So,
bunch of people mumbling.
so
Now the dance of the three snakes.
yeah, Spangled says her dance. She ends
No,
up
no,
being.
she's entirely hired for this movie because she can dance. So don't gloss over that.
And because she's also
Wait.
the most 80s woman you've ever seen in your
Yes.
entire life.
She was actually, let's talk about her career. She was in Conan the Barbarian.
Is she a
She's
dancer?
a stunt woman.
She's a
a
dancer.
dancer.
No,
She's
is she
lot
a
of
dancer by
things.
trade, though?
Yes.
She is.
Yeah.
Really?
A dancer slash stunt woman, which
They list that first on
that's
like
a
her
pretty
And glasses wearing.
IMDb
amazing
page.
resume. Yeah, he
Sometimes.
just threw away her
Most of the
glasses.
time.
Like, you don't need these. It was like a she's all that moment. Like,
Well-
took out her scrunchie and took
She
off her
needed the
glasses.
glasses so we know she was smart.
Well, that is one thing to address in this movie is that they're in a post-apocalyptic landscape, and Roddy Piper just takes her glasses and throws them away, and that's totally fine. And it's just the sort of thing where it's just like, she needs those to see, A.
Joe
and
wears
B,
glasses.
Yeah, well, A,
Joel's
she,
sensitive to this issue.
A, she
He's got
needs...
bracelets.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joel took off his glasses for this podcast. I don't know why, but
It's going with his heart.
it is audio.
Either way.
A, she needs these to see. B, they're in a post-apocalyptic landscape where glasses are probably pretty hard to come by.
That's true.
And he just
You
throws
can't-
them away.
You
And
think
she's
that
fine after
she
that.
has these fucking earrings. Oh, that's
true, too.
control his
Yeah.
crotch.
So basically, she does the dance of the three serpents, and we find out that the three serpents are...
Or what, Joel? We find out that there are
Wait.
3 frog penises.
Did we Google this on whether or not toads or frogs, like, in nature have 3 penises? Because I did not
They
think-
don't.
Oh, they definitely don't.
There's
No, they
no way...
absolutely
No,
don't.
they
I
don't.
I think
but
we would
because
we would
he's
know in
mutated,
life if they
yes.
did.
The dance of the 3 snakes turns out to be, hey, do a sexy dance, and my
Okay.
3 freak frog penises will start
Some of them
activating.
Three erections.
And I
Switch
guess
to
that's...
gender.
I would say that's
Switch
the
to sex, I
weird...
should say, not gender.
I would say that's probably the weirdest part of this movie is seeing a frog get aroused and get 3 boners.
But I felt like
You know my favorite
she
shot of
defeated
the,
him rather easily.
the entire movie was while she was doing it. There's a scene where he's just rubbing his. But it's like this weird frog hand thing, and it's just like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Ultimate zone.
that happens. She gets out of it by kicking him in all of his 3 frog dicks.
Every one of them.
1, 2,
She doesn't do 1
3.
kick. She does 3
Wait,
kicks.
Yeah.
Can we
Does that
also
mean he has
discuss
6 balls?
for being just sort of
Don't think about it.
blonde girl? She kicks a lot of ass. in
She
this
does.
Absolutely.
Like there's a
She-
scene where the harem, she's just like, guys, like we can just leave right now. And the guy comes in and she kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's like, let's go. And they're like, oh, well, we don't know. And then 3 guys rush her. But, you know.
She does end up being quite a badass.
She is.
And
She
Absolutely.
She,
Two guards.
She never
those 2
stopped
guards,
being a
and then
badass.
Roddy Piper watched her take down these 2 guards, and
And Roddy Piper, meanwhile, falls off a fucking platform up
Yeah.
top just because he.
then he shoots
fence wasn't
like his
secure.
2 guards.
He's
You
an
think
elf,
like
too.
some frog warlord would have an army, but he has like 2 guards
Yeah.
who are taken down.
J&J
during-
Security.
He only ever
J-
has
J-
2 frogs. There's only ever 2 frogs guarding anything at any
J&J
time.
Security.
But as we saw in the credits, there was like 16 people playing frogs.
Just not once.
Yeah, they just had to just keep cycling through frog actors, apparently.
Yeah. It's probably the same 3 guys.
No, it wasn't. That's the whole
Credits.
thing.
These are
You're
credits
right,
in
it's-
performances.
They had like
That's right. There was.
we were like, that's a
15.
lot of frog people, and then they had like another thing of like 16 more frog
There was
people.
like 50. Yeah.
So we've got a standoff in the desert. Roddy Piper has a katana on him.
Why? We
Well,
don't
actually,
know,
he
but he
hasn't
does.
used the whole. He's just conveniently like all of a sudden you notice in their getaway van, which is like a pink like 1930s
Which also is another
Cadillac.
fact of note that I thought was really interesting was that he didn't drive. I thought
Yeah,
for sure at
that's
the
true.
end of the movie,
Yeah.
when they were rushing into the car, it'd be like him getting behind the wheel,
Yeah.
looking badass, and
Very
speeding up.
Mad Max Fury Road.
Exactly,
That's
right?
what I was thinking. Yeah.
I was surprised that like what was her name? That
Bengali.
Spang. Yeah.
Bengali, I think.
She seemed to just like hang back and wait for them when she had like this assault rifle that she probably
Yeah.
could have wrecked house on.
Thanks
Oh
for
no!
that.
Yeah.
Oh, Centrella.
Centrella, yeah.
Yeah, she just disappeared. She just
It's true.
She had other
It
shit she
seemed
had
like
to
she'd be
do.
more important, but she never was.
Yeah, where the hell was she during the big
There's like
standoff?
the lead
Yeah.
subplot of her just destroying all the
They
rest
kind of
of
got away relatively.
slowly
She was like,
going behind
murders
frogs and
all of them.
slicing
I was
his throat.
surprised at how relatively easily they got away. He like there was a scene where the person who was torturing him. Well, he didn't even torture him. He just chopped off his chastity belt. And
He did him a favor.
yeah, the stripper from the inside that they had, frog stripper from the inside, got stabbed through the chest with a drill bit, and then Roddy Piper then used that drill bit to quite easily stab his captor, and then
Drill slam him, I think,
Yeah.
is maybe the term
Yeah.
for
Oh,
it.
there was a legitimate wrestling move in that scene.
There's like half.
It was a hip
almost
toss.
the same.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, it wasn't great, but
It was as good as a sleeper.
Forward
Yeah.
object first and then a hip toss.
So we have like a really intense standoff where they're not at all even a little bit subtle about the fact that the katana is going to come into play. Like they just
They
keep
keep on,
shooting
like,
back and forth about the
literally nodding
katana.
at it.
Oh yeah.
Every character in the entire scene except the bad guy is like looking at the katana.
The bad guy is telling us everything about his plan in just like the most boring way possible. You know what's going to happen, but it's still kind of there's still some intensity to it
The
in a
bad
weird
guy's
way.
plan was really misogynistic too because he was like, the women are in control and I don't like that. So I'm gonna sell
And he's
guns
like
to the
giving
girl.
him, like standing like the olive branch to join him. He's like, "Come with
Join me.
Yeah.
I don't like women being in charge of things, and that's why I'm going to kill a bunch of people.
Because so he's selling the guns to the greeners, which were the frog people, so you
Yep.
could get uranium, so that he could bring it back to the people who are building bombs, so they could then bomb more people.
And create more frog people and less
They'd already
life.
done this twice, and they wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Plan.
So, yeah, basically, I'll touch on a couple of things after, but the end of the movie is basically just like, Roddy wins, he takes the guy down, and then he now has to have sex with a million women.
I felt like the cliff scene though, where
Six
he
women.
defeated
When he's
him.
driving.
Yeah, well, so this is the thing. Okay, so this is the thing about the cliff scene.
While
is,
he's trying-
the reason that I kind of want to just go just go past that and just get to the end of the movie here is because the cliff scene is a good example of something that's predominant in this movie is the fact that this is an 85-minute movie and they stretch out everything as fucking long as they can. So it's like Roddy like kills this guy, but then we have another 5 minutes of Roddy like chasing this guy down, and then he's not actually dead, and then you're sort of like, oh, what's gonna happen? And it's just like, did we really need to have this whole other extended scene?
I think that
Yes, we did.
needed it because they're pretty easy to defeat without that. Like samurai sword, this one guy is down. Frog King, they blew him up, he's done. It would have been a much easier walk back to a home base to impregnate all these women. So they needed to come back just for a little last for all. But one thing I thought was interesting was when he had him off the cliff, how long it actually took them to like make a decision of how this frogman was going to die.
Not frogman, human man.
Oh yes, from the waist down. But it took them an awful long time for him to finally grab the sword and have him plummet.
Yeah.
And even then, I think that they did it that way rather than some sort of big explosion for budgetary reasons. He just fell off a rock.
Yeah, there's a really like subtle thud.
So stoked
like,
to see just a giant frog toad guy just explode on a rock.
Yeah.
And he just plunked
Yeah.
down.
He just stumbled. He just took a tumble.
I also expected a sword fight, but he
Nope.
actually just threw the sword.
Yeah,
That was it. Like a knife.
Well, it's just like I guess I brought it up. I brought it up in the sense that like this is an 85-minute movie. There are so many scenes of them just driving. There are so many scenes like there's like 5 minutes of the movie that's just like this harem of women who are just like fanning Spangle.
25 minutes,
Like that's a
there's
lot
no
of time.
frogs. There's no frogs.
There's no
in the
frogs, and it's just weird, like porn sexual tension.
It's
And
great.
it's
It was
just
a
like
short
this isn't.
script.
This is an 85-minute movie, and they had to pad this movie
Well,
to make it 85 minutes.
I don't know.
So
how-
did Mad Max, man. Mad Max Fury Road, there was a bunch of ladies just driving down a road.
There.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
Road is in the title. Frog is in the title.
Ma-
There was
Mad
less
Max-
frogs
Mad Max
in this
Fury
movie
Road
than there
was,
roads in that movie.
God damn it, you're right.
Mad Max Fury Road was one of the most beautifully artistic movies about people driving cars and playing guitars that spew fire that you will ever see. This was not exactly that. This was sort of like, we have a movie and let's try to make it longer.
Yeah.
And I won't say it was detrimental.
And at the end, he ends up with Spangle, but like she's also fully cool. She's down with the fact that he still has to perform his duty
Happy
and have
days.
sex with these like 6 women to impregnate them. He's like, after you're done your job, you come see me, and it doesn't matter that
Yeah.
I'm infertile.
It was a Thelma and Louise moments.
Yeah.
It's very,
About 6 other women.
it's very progressive. It's very sexually progressive.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
it's an empowering
polyamorous. He's,
All the ladies are down though. They're just sitting in the back, like looking at him, like, "Do me," even though
The harp sound.
yeah,
everyone's down to share him, and that's why this movie for Roddy Piper is like a very like it's great for your ego. Like at the end of the movie, you get to have sex with 6 women at the end.
He probably watched that every night after he retired. He was probably just like,
Absolutely.
"Hey, you ever see this one movie? You ever see this
Yes,
movie?
we've seen it.
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yes.
Let's watch it again."
Yes! No!
That-
We will not see this again.
That's like Roddy Piper's power move. Whenever he's moving, he's like meeting new people. He's just like, "Just watch this movie. You know, it's about me. It's based on a true story."
they're at like the video store and they're like, "Oh, they live," and he comes up. It's like, "Yeah, you can."
Frogtown.
Well, let's watch this
Tell
one.
me some
I get
Frogtown
one
though.
woman and they live.
Well, as far
I
as
get
like ego
6
thing,
women in
like
this
they
one.
live, he looks kind of like a crazy person.
It's
true.
But I still, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
And Frog
Next time.
Yeah, Frogtown is
Yeah.
basically just about that Roddy Piper is the coolest dude with the best dick that's
That's
ever
what I
existed.
took. I took from the movie is that he can
All
hear what
words of
ails
truth.
you, really, and save society.
So as far as rating goes, Man, I would honestly probably give this like a B or a B plus.
Whoa!
Like this, like as far as we like
By the end of it.
Yeah, by the end of it, the
Well,
first
definitely
half
great.
hour was a really awkward porno movie, but it got a lot better. I really appreciated the fact that like for the low budget that they had a great location. It was really well shot. Strangely enough, even though all of the frog makeup was different, that actually added a lot to it. The fact that we had a lot of difference for the frog
Different
type of
A
people.
lot of variation. It was good.
Yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, I mean, just like especially, I don't know. It's weird, having reviewed Fast Five. Fast Five is our lowest reviewed film at this point.
Whoa.
And this is our highest reviewed film, and that's
So
fucking
far.
weird.
So what'd
So
you give
far.
it officially?
You know what? I'll give it the B. I'll give it the B.
Michael.
I'd give it like a B minus. I actually thoroughly enjoed it. It made me uncomfortable at times, but
Uncomfortable to watch with a group of people.
Yeah, it is so weird. Like, anytime you're in that situation where you're just like, this is kind of a porno.
There's definitely an exploitation
I'm
film.
not 15
There's sex.
years old anymore.
Can I go
This
with
is-
3 frog dicks out of 5?
3 frog dicks out of 5. That's a good rating.
That's pretty good.
What's Mark got?
I'm gonna go with B. It is a good B movie.
B movie.
Solid.
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan?
I'm gonna go with the B minus. I can't really ignore the sexual peril that. I mean,
And all of the characters.
There
Yes,
were
I
experience.
stopped and think about some of the implications of
It's
this
at least
film.
equal.
I turn my brain off. I still see a lot of sexual peril. I'm not happy with a lot of the choices made, but there were callbacks. There was some decent action. There was the fact that what's her name, Spangler.
Spangle.
Spangles. Spangler was Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
Spangles did some pretty badass things. She developed in a interesting, not run of the mill way, but for a fun wrestling movie starring a wrestler, I think it was higher than average. So yeah, B minus. Thank you.
Well,
Adrian?
If we're talking about averages, that's a B plus.
I just
With the average wrestling
okay.
review.
Just Adrian,
Yes.
this is your third viewing of this movie. How do you
This
feel
might-
about it at this point?
Just like every other movie we've reviewed so far, I'll give it a C plus.
Oh.
So, this is B plus with B movies. We're the B plus players. You can find us on thebplusplayers.bandcamp.com. Check out our YouTube channel. Oh shit, you're already on it because you're listening to this right now.
Subscribe.
And yeah, subscribe.
Twitter, we're at B plus players.
Yeah.
And the other one is Facebook. Facebook.com/B+players.
On our YouTube, you can find more episodes of B Plus on B Movies. You can find all of our songs. You can find interviews with local professional wrestlers. And tune in next time. We're gonna keep
To be determined.
doing some reviews about movies.
Oh,
I think next time we'll probably watch Suburban Commando.
Probably Super Commando next time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, nice
Okay.
choice.
All right, great.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Y'all have a great night.
Everybody wants to be like Roddy Piper. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
You want me to fight somebody? I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Close your